Hey everybody, welcome back to Filecoin Foundation's DWeb Decoded podcast series, coming to you from Davos, Switzerland for World Economic Forum 2025. We've got a snowy morning here today, actually. We're getting some cold, getting some snow. Very exciting, very Swiss vibes here today. So I'm your host, Aaron Stanley, and today I'm joined by Eric Piscini, who's the CEO of Hashgraph. Eric, it's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. You're right, it's getting colder, right?
Yeah, yes. Getting a little colder, a little snowier as we progress through the week here, but we've got the fire to keep us warm, and got some great company here. So Eric, I would love to dive into your role with Hashgraph and what you guys are doing, but maybe first, just why don't you give yourself a quick introduction? You've been in the blockchain world for a long time. You've been wearing a lot of hats. You've been doing a lot of stuff. Like, maybe give us a quick introduction.
Yeah,
to
maybe
yourself.
I should have brought my hat today, actually. But no, I actually started in 2013. So back at Deloitte, we were launching the new blockchain practice with a lot of friends, and we ended up growing that practice to a pretty big team. And so now you have Deloitte people everywhere in the world doing blockchain because they, like me, left Deloitte and did something else. Then I did my own startup. Then I went to IBM, all of that in blockchain. So across different industries. And today I'm the CEO of Hashgraph, which is the team behind the Hedera network.
So you're a part of the, not just the Deloitte mafia, but also the IBM blockchain mafia.
There we
go.
So
what is it like to be part of those like two clubs simultaneously?
Well, it's actually pretty fun because when you go to events like Davos, you reconnect with a bunch of people that you know because you've been in this industry for a while. And so, Michael Casey, for example, was, at the very beginning of this journey with us. I don't know if you know that, but Michael Casey used to work at Deloitte.
Oh, really?
At some point, a long time ago. So there is a lot of circle you can interact with. And, when you come here, it feels like home sometimes.
Yeah, it's a pretty powerful network effect, right?
Yeah.
I can imagine. So maybe talk a bit about let's just dive into Hedera and obviously Hashgraph, which is one of the companies that's supporting Hedera or building out Hedera. But maybe talk a bit about, give a quick introduction to what Hedera is, and then we'd love to talk a bit more about what you guys kind of have in store for 2025. I know you guys have a lot, going on with AI and enterprise partnerships and technical roadmaps and things of that nature. So we'd love to just kind of get the download on some of that.
Yeah, so we have a lot going on in a lot of different dimensions, right? So first, from a technical point of view, we continue to improve on the Hedera network. So the Hedera network is getting better and better every week. So we have additional features like block node and block streams. We won't talk about that here, but if you're interested, that's a really cool set of features that we are launching. We are also working on state proof, which is another feature that is going to enable us to do inter-ledger communication between different ledgers, different blockchains. And then we also have a product that we are launching, which is called Hashsphere. And that product is a replica of Hedera in a private setting for very specific use cases where you cannot use a public ledger. I think regulatory driven industries, in governments, they need their own blockchain, quote unquote. So we are building that for them.
So this will be like sort of a subnet, essentially.
It's similar to a subnet.
Okay.
Yeah. It's still connected to the mainnet, to the public ledger. It's using the exact same code, but that's a new product. And with this product, we expect more enterprises and large organizations to actually join the Hedera family by using Hashsphere.
Got it. So when I think of Hedera, I really think of kind of as like the chain or the hash graph. I guess it's not technically a blockchain, but it's the hash graph. It's like they're really the choice for enterprise use cases, right? You guys have a lot of big names in your governing council who are, folks from kind of all across, every sort of vertical and sector of industry, right? And you guys have really kind of pitched yourself, marketed yourselves as really the kind of the enterprise-friendly platform or chain, or if you will. And we'd love to just get a download from you on what are some of the main kind of use cases where you guys are seeing traction, kind of on the enterprise front at this point in time. And then maybe over the course of 2025, what should we be maybe looking out for on that adoption front?
Yeah, good question. Because we cover pretty much every industry, right? Sure. So we have use cases in healthcare, use cases in finance, tokenization. We tokenize a lot of different things. The one I like currently is the one that we do with Hyundai and Kia, the car makers. And we are building a platform for them where they capture every event on their supply chain with their suppliers and themselves. And every event triggers a carbon footprint, a carbon mark, if you want, And at the end of the chain, we know exactly what is the carbon footprint of every single car.
Oh, wow.
And if you're an enterprise and you want to be carbon neutral, you can buy carbon credits to offset the carbon footprint of the car you just bought. And all of that is traceable, auditable on the Hedera blockchain. So that's a fantastic use case, right? Because it's easy to explain first, but it's also a really good case for blockchain. I'm excited about this one.
Yeah. And then I've always been interested in some of these like supply chain use cases generally, where it seems like a very sort of natural application for the technology, right? Just given how supply chains are just in themselves like very distributed systems, right? So having kind of a ledger, like a shared ledger where a lot of this information can be sort of, there's a centralized source of truth in this system. It just seems to make a lot of sense. But a lot of these projects, maybe like there's been a lot of like interesting sort of fits and starts, I guess, but maybe haven't maybe like gotten, quite the adoption that maybe we'd have expected to see by now. But like, I'd love to get your, I know you've spent some time in the kind of the blockchain for supply chain world back a few years ago. I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on, I still get people asking me about this, like, when's like blockchain gonna be adopted for supply chain? I'm like, like we're getting close. I don't think we're like quite there yet, but like, I feel like we're getting like closer,
Yeah. Maybe the analogy here is, actually, I'm going to ask you a question. So, do you know what's the difference between a good idea and a bad idea? 18 months. 18 months,
right?
So
the timing, right? Timing,
so I think it was about timing. I think it was the idea were really good.
Yeah.
The use cases were really benefiting. Blockchain was really benefiting those use cases, right? But the timing was not there, and I think the expectations of return from those platforms were very high, financial return.
Right.
And so now we are being more realistic into. Those platforms are going to be here. I think we are going to be building supply chain based on blockchain platforms, but we're not going to expect, to change completely or every single supply chain in the world. We're not going to expect billions of dollars of revenue. We're going to be more humble about those things.
Yeah, and these things aren't going to be adopted overnight. It's not, people aren't going to just abandon their existing systems.
No,
we're going to use this thing. Right?
Exactly. I think we are being more realistic as an industry about what we can actually really change. But the trend is there. The trend is going to continue.
I mean, it's a great application. I mean, it's one that it just makes so much sense intuitively. But I think maybe we kind of drank our own Kool-Aid a little bit too much on maybe this on this idea. But
and then you have AI on the top of this. So what's interesting today is the supply chains are all using now some kind of AI features, right, to predict their supply chain, to predict the purchasing activities from their clients for sourcing of the materials, whatever it is, right? AI is going to be everywhere.
Sure.
And AI needs a trust layer because you need to understand where the data is coming from. You need to be able to audit this information. You need to be able to audit the actual agent making the decision and the outcome. And all of that needs to be traceable on a trust layer. And that's also something that we're working on at Hedera.
Yeah, no, super interesting. And maybe piggybacking on that, my next question was just going to be what you guys have in store on the kind of the AI fronts. But would love for you to maybe riff a bit more on how does Hedera sort of positioning itself within the AI world? Like where do you see the overlaps? Where do you see maybe the most logical like use cases or synergies?
And we have two very strong partnerships with two AI companies, Prove AI and Equity Labs, and both of them are working on anchoring their AI activities and engine and models and data streams on Hedera so that when you engage with their AI and you want to verify that the information that is feeding that AI is actually doesn't infringe into any kind of copyright issues or is actually information that I want to be including into my model, not any kind of information from the web, we can trace all of that. So we are working with both of them and other companies, but those are very, very interesting companies if you have a chance to look at them. And we are working with them to do that. So it's a very exciting time because now you have the compounding effect of blockchain and AI together, creating even more innovation for supply chain, but many other activities as well.
Right. What would you say makes Hedera like a great platform for this type of activity? Like what's sort of the enabling features that you have built in, or like why is Hedera like a great sort of substrate to be doing this type of activity?
So I think three big things. One, and you mentioned it, the governing council. All right. So when we talk to organizations and we say our network is not run by a bunch of nodes that we don't have idea where they are. Our network is run by the governing council. The governing council has Google, IBM, Dell, LG, right? Those brands are very credible
it's not
in the
guys
market.
In their garage.
No,
and,
it's not. And so that's the first level of trust, right?
Yeah.
Is who is running the network. The second level is the technology is extremely efficient, right? Dr. Lehman Baird, when he invented Hashgraph, he created something that is extremely efficient, which means we are not consuming a lot of energy at all. We are the greenest blockchain in the world. Mm-hmm. So when you work on supply chain in particular and you want to be sustainable, using a platform that is very green is very important, right? So for example, the cost of a transaction, because the cost of running the transaction is low, the cost of a transaction on Hedera is a fraction of a cent, right? And then the last piece, which is also very important for when you run businesses, is the cost of a transaction is in dollar. So regardless of the value of HBAR, which has been great so far this year, but regardless of that value, I will always pay a fraction of a cent, the same fraction of a cent, every time I transact with the platform. So that gives me
predictability.
Exactly, predictability of the cost when I build business platforms. So now you put that in the context of AI, and of course when you build AI, you don't want an expensive platform in the back end. You want something efficient. You want something credible. That's us.
Got it. That's great. Thank you for the explanation. That makes a lot of sense. Maybe to wrap up here, any predictions or anything that you're really excited about for 2025, whether it's maybe Hedera related or a bit more general?
I think, last year at Davos, we were talking about AI everywhere. Everybody was scared about it. This year, people seems to be less concerned about AI, because I think it's now we digested the AI phenomenon, but it's still a pretty big topic. And one thing that I'm really excited to see is every single AI agent will become an independent agent, right? Not all of them, but a lot of them are going to absorb information, make decisions, and actually action on those decisions. And that's going to create a new set of actors into everything that we do. And the anchoring of these agents onto a blockchain is going to be critical for the trust, because otherwise you don't have any control anymore on those AIs, right?
Yeah.
So that's an interesting topic for us.
Yeah, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that. I've had the same observation as you with regards to Davos this year. It seems like there's a lot less like AI doomerism.
Yeah.
Where last year it was more of like, Skynet's coming and how do we shut this thing off before it kills us.
Yeah.
And this year it's a lot more practical. It's like, okay, we've got these agents. How do we kind of utilize them? How do we make these things most efficient to work for our benefit, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really interesting to see that conversation evolve. I mean, there still is a little bit of doomerism, but it's not near. I mean, most of the doomerism is now on quantum computing, which is a whole different subject, I guess. But, I feel like the conversation has advanced like quite significantly in just a year's time, which is quite encouraging. So
it is. I agree. Yeah.
Well, anyway, Eric Piscini, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning, and wishing you the best of luck in 2025 and the rest of this week here in Davos.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and we'll be back soon with another interview.